Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Natalia. You guys caught me looking absolutely diabolical today. I look very bad, but I've been dealing with like super painful, like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but my eye is like super inflamed and red, and I've just been dealing with a very painful something or the other going on with my eye, and I just haven't felt like doing my makeup and getting all ready. I'm literally in my Deadpool shirt for pajamas, and I'm acting like I don't come on here looking ratchet 90% of the time, but whatever. Anyways, today is going to be my April wrap up. I read about 16 books in the month of April. I'll put on the screen how many I read, but I believe it was 16. And we're just gonna go through, sorry, I'm looking at my phone. I'm pulling up Goodreads because that's where I log all of my books that I read. So yeah, we're just gonna go through everything I read. Super casual video. I love filming wrap-ups because I like looking back on the books that I've read, and I really like watching wrap-ups as well. Let me know if you guys do too. I'm sorry if this is a little bit off balance. I'm a little off balance, if you will. So yeah, let's just get into it. And I read a lot of ARCs. I'm trying to get my NetGalley score up. So a lot of these I don't own physically because they are ARCs. I have a headphone in. I'm very much ADD and I just can't stay on track. If you can't tell, my train of thought bounces up and down. Anyways, I read a lot of ARCs and Kindle books, and so the majority of my reading is done there, and then I have a couple physical books. I like checking out books from the library, so I read a lot of library books too. I rarely ever touch my physical TBR, but that is a problem for a different day, if you will. So yeah, let's get into it. The first book I read this month, I will be popping up the pictures, is Naked in Naknek. I don't know how to say it. I got this as a ARC on NetGalley, and I requested it just because I thought the cover was absolutely stunning. I don't know, I hate when people are on covers, like real people are on covers, but this one just felt, I just felt something like very much speak to my soul. It ended up being so beautiful. This was, I have to like pull it up on Goodreads because I read this so long ago, like a month ago. I cannot even remember the names. Okay, so this story follows Lillian. Lillian is a scientist, and she ends up moving to, she's a scientist in California, and she ends up moving to Alaska to figure out why the salmon in that area are declining. This town in Alaska is a super big fishing town. It's a small town, but the majority of people who live there make their income off of the fishing that they do year round. It supports almost everyone in the town, and so she wants to go there and figure out why the population is dying off and see what she can do to help. And when she gets to this small town, immediately everybody hates her because she's the Californian scientist in town who's coming to send the government to their small town to put rules and regulations on fishing and things like that. Everybody immediately is super annoyed by her, and she meets Matthew, who is a fisherman, and he initially is drawn to her. He thinks she's, you know, beautiful, and they strike up a conversation one day, and he really likes her, and so he secretly decides to help her gather samples from the water by taking her out on the boat. And it's kind of just like their love story, and how Lillian gets the town to, you know, come around to the idea of having fishermen, and it's just fishermen, of having scientists put like a control on their fishing to help the fish population grow back. So it was just a really good book, and I didn't expect it to be that good. It surprised me. I won't lie, it surprised me, and I just really found it to be sweet and deep. And I've never read anything by this author, Lulu Sinclair, and I really liked it. It's a shame it only has 6 ratings. It doesn't come out until April 15th, but I really hope people pick this up because it deserves the hype. So wait, April 15th? What am I talking about? This book has already published, and it only has 6 ratings, and that's so sad. You guys, go read this book. it's so good. What in the world? I'm so sad that it doesn't have more recognition. Okay, the next one is also a book I got from NetGalley. It's called Situationship by E.M. Wilson. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I didn't even rate this one because I ended up DNFing it. So I hate to, you know, trash on people's books because I think that writing a book is like the most spectacular thing you can do as a human being. I could personally never write a book. I don't have the attention span to do that, but I just hate not liking books. But basically this felt like a Wattpad. And not like there's anything wrong with Wattpad, but I'm just more, how do you say it? I don't want to sound like pretentious. I'm like the least thing from pretentious, but like my reading is just more mature than Wattpad usually is, you know? And I don't want to sound like pretentious or that I'm trashing on Wattpad authors at all, because obviously some gems can come out of Wattpad, you know? But this just felt extremely immature. We're following two characters who are just like super rich and hot, and they hook up without telling like each other, and they're like enemies, but they hook up. And it just wasn't for me. If you like a lot of smut and basically two rich people who we don't get to learn really in any way, or at least I give this, I think I DNF'd at 10%, which is like, is it unfair to DNF and then say like there wasn't chemistry? But I feel like 10% in, we should like be getting to know these people and not just like their sex lives, you know? It just wasn't, it wasn't for me. So I DNF'd. Didn't rate that because I DNF'd. The next book I read is also from NetGalley. I told you I read a lot of NetGalley books, but it's called Such Quiet Girls by Noelle W. Illy. I don't know how to say her name. I'm so sorry, but this book was 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. Okay, so this book follows it's in the multiple POVs, but we're following basically a kidnapping of a school bus. So this is a true story that I didn't even recognize. I was at the beach one day with my best friend, and I was telling her about this book that I was reading, and she was like, that actually happened. And I was like, you're lying. She's like, no, it happened like a long time ago. Like, okay, so basically in the 70s, a school bus got kidnapped, and they buried all of the children plus the bus driver underground in like a storage container underground, and tried to hold a ransom over them. So like contact the parents and be like, if you pay us this much money, we'll give your kid back. This actually happened, and Noelle wrote this so perfectly. I felt like she did a really good job of staying true to that storyline, but also adding in her own twist and her own like touch to it. I just was like hooked the whole entire time. I was rooting for those kids to get out of that situation the whole entire time. My heart was pumping, and I just love her books. I think she's such a fantastic thriller author, and I hope she never stops writing books, because I gave that one 5 stars. And also, please go, after you read this book, go Google all about this case. There's pictures on the internet of everything, and it's like insane. It's so crazy. What a banger. Okay, 5 stars. The next book I read was on Kindle. It's called The Nanny is Off Limits by QB Tyler. So I have read books by QB Tyler before, but I haven't picked one up in a really long time. And I saw her promoting this one on her Instagram, and so I immediately got hooked because I just love nanny books. I don't know why. I guess because I have kids and that is like kind of like my bread and butter right now, is like nanny books with like kids in them, because I just love, I don't know, I feel like those stories are always just so sweet and like endearing to me. I don't know. But anyway, so this is following Rowan, and he is a single dad. He's a little bit older. I think he's like in his 40-ish. And he's got 3 kids. One is older, like 16 to 18. One is like a middle schooler, so he's like 10 to 11, and then one is like a toddler. And basically he's like top of the top at work, and he's super exhausted because he's working nonstop, and he can barely kind of like take care of his kids. He definitely needs help. His wife died, but they divorced before she passed away, so nothing like that. But he basically needs help really bad, and one day his brother can see that he really needs help, and he's like, you need to hire a nanny. And one day while his brother and this little girl who is Rowan's kid are shopping in the grocery store, they run into Ileana. Sorry, I forgot her name and I had to look it up. But they run into her, and the brother immediately like sees something in her, and he tells his brother about it, and he's like, hey, you need to hire her. So our story starts from there. I thought it was just so good and spicy. I loved the tension between them because they're like trying to deny their attraction for the kids' sake, because the kids are like, we don't want something to happen between you guys, and like she have to leave our life and things like that. But obviously they're so attracted to each other and they can't keep their hands off of each other, and it was just a super spicy time. And I just also love that it was like super taboo, and like the nanny is off limits, and it was just so good to me. I had a really fun time reading it, and I gave it 4 stars. And there's another one coming out, the cheerleader is off limits, and that is the brother's story, because he's like a high school football coach or a college football coach, one of the two, and there's gonna be like a cheerleader is off limits. I can't wait. It sounds so good. So yeah, read that if you haven't yet. Oh my gosh, another arc I read this month was Make Me Famous by Maud Ventura. I never read anything by Maud Ventura, but I know she has a super popular book out. It's called My Husband, and I do own it, so I do need to read it. But I just love a story about an unhinged woman who will do anything to become famous. And this was no exception. This book was so good. So basically we're following Cleo, and from a young age she's just super delusional. She's like, I'm gonna be famous. I'm pretty, I'm a good singer. Like, she's like, I'm gonna be famous. So basically we're following her life as she goes through these different things, and we follow her as she writes her first song, and when she first discovers that she knows she's gonna be famous. Like, we just follow her growing up doing these different things until she's an adult, and she doesn't become famous in this book until way later in her life. But during all of that, while we're watching Cleo grow up, we're getting chapters in the future where she's currently on this private island that only the richest and the most famous of the famous go to get away, if you will. And she's on this island alone. They basically drop you off on the island, and they're like, see you in 2 weeks. And there's like no, like, she's literally staying in like a hut with no walls, and she has like a gas stove and like enough food and water for like 2 weeks, and then she's like on the beach with the ocean. It's really crazy. But she's basically, we're following her in that point of view, and then we're also getting her backstory, and we follow her as she becomes super famous, like this mega like Taylor Swift type famous. And basically Cleo's like really not a good person. Like, she kind of will step on anyone to become as famous as she wants to be. And I just found it so good. Like, I just love an unhinged woman story, and the ending of this story gave me like thriller vibes. Like, I was like gagged. I was like jaw on the floor. I just couldn't believe how that ended. It was so good. I gave it 4 stars. Looking back at it now, I feel like it could be a 5-star book. I don't know why I didn't rate it 5 stars. I kind of want to go back and give it 5 stars because it was just so good. But I think maybe I rated it 4 stars because Cleo was so unlikable, but I feel like that's supposed to be that way for a reason. But anyways, moving on. Our first physical book of the month was this gem, which I rated 4 stars. I wanted to give this 5 as well, but I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't rate it 5 stars. Anyways, this book was so good. So we're following, hopefully I'm saying her name right, but we're following Clarion. I don't know how to say it. But she is basically I can't remember if she is a summer or a spring witch. She might be both. Witch? What am I saying? I can't remember if she is a summer or a spring fairy, but basically in this world we are following fairies who are either summer and spring fairies, so they live in like an eternal spring, and then we're following and then there is winter fairies who obviously live in like an eternal winter. Sorry if you hear an airplane. But anyways, so we're following Clarion, and she's kind of set to be like the, what do you, like the new ruler of her land, if you will. She's kind of like following in the footsteps of, it's not her mom, I don't think. I think it's just like a mentor to her, and she's learning how to be like the new ruler, if you will. But anyways, she's kind of like under a super watchful eye, so she doesn't get to like go out much. She's supposed to like do her duties and go home basically. And one day there is like these monsters attacking their realm, and she decides to kind of figure out what's happening for herself, because she doesn't feel like her mentor is like doing anything about it. So she wants to do something about it because she feels like it's her duty to do so and protect like her people. So she basically meets up with the Winter King, if you will, which I believe is him. Oh wait, does that say my, oh, let me cover this up. It's basically him. I'm covering up the library sticker. But they meet up, and it's kind of like a sweet little baby romance. Like there's nothing too crazy between them, but like I just, ooh, it was so good. I like was eating it up. Like every moment between the two of them, I was just like eating it up. And it was like an also like it was also just like a super beautiful story. The writing, absolutely devoured the writing. It was so dreamy. Like I loved the writing so much. But it was also just like a super easy world to understand, which I very much appreciate with YA kind of books like that. And I need to buy this for myself physically, because this is definitely a book that I want my kids to read when they get older, and I just want to reread it. I thought it was so good. I only give it 4 stars because maybe I was missing that like adult like romance touch to it, because I felt like if it had that, it would have slayed. I would have ate it down even more. And yeah, so this is still a fantastic book, like fantastic. Please go read it. But I did wish it was adult. But still, amazing book. 4 stars. 4.75, if you will. Okay, the next book I read was on my Kindle. It was also an ARC. It's Change of Heart by Bailey Hannah. This is 3 in the Wells Ranch. This is number 3 in the Wells Ranch book series. If you guys can't tell, I gave this 5 stars. Ate it up, ate it up, ate it up. Okay, so this book is following cowboys. And we're basically following everybody in Wells Canyon. This one is following, what's your name? Denver Wells, who is obviously a part of the Wells family, and we're following his romance between him and Blair Hart, who grew up in Wells Canyon, but she ended up moving to the big city, following her dreams, but she ends up having to come back to Wells Ranch to like help take care of her mom, because her mom has got early onset dementia, I believe it is, or Alzheimer, I don't know what it is. But she has to come back and take care. So she ends up opening a doctor's practice, or she doesn't open it. She starts working at like a small town doctor's practice there. And she's basically reconnecting with everyone who she left behind, including Denver, who they grew up together, had like this romance from the time they were teenagers. I mean, even younger. I believe they were like 10 when they first met. And so we're going in the past, and we're watching like them grow up together, and then we watch them like fall apart and then come back together. You guys, this was giving me Heart of Dixie vibes, 100% Heart of Dixie vibes, but in like a different way. It was so good. Miss Bailey Hannah, please don't ever stop publishing these books. I'm eating them up. They are so good. They are so spicy as well. Like, not only is there just like tension and just, it's so good, but like the spice is spicing. It is so dang good. I eat it up every time. So please read this series if you haven't already. I'm looking at the reviews. A lot of people are giving it 4 stars, and I don't get why. This is a 5-star book. Okay, I kind of have to hurry because my camera is dying, of course. So hopefully I can make it through. The next book I read was Fudge Cupcake Murder by Joanne Flug. This is the Hannah Swanson Cozy Mysteries. Huge cozy mystery girl. I try to read at least 1 or 2 a month. And I'm currently doing the Hannah Swanson one. So this is number 5. It's a fudge cupcake murder. I'm not going to get into the synopsis because you know we're following Hannah Swanson if you've read these, and she owns a bakery in this small town, and she always finds a dead body, and she always ends up helping to solve the crime. And it's always the same story, but it's always so good and fun, and I just love the characters. I get this cozy like grandma feeling. I don't know how to explain it. I just feel like this is a book that a grandma would read, and that is my vibe. So good. I give it 3 stars, which is still a good rating for me. The next physical book I read this month, 5 stars, what a banger, is Kill for Me, Kill for You by Steve Kavanaugh. This was my book of the month pick in March of 2024, and I just picked it up. So this book is following a girl named Amanda, and Amanda had just lost her child and husband at the same time. I won't tell you how it happened, but she is going through it. She's having a hard time coping with it, and she meets this girl named Wendy in her grief counseling class that she goes to, and Wendy and Amanda come up with this plan to kill for each other. She's like, if you kill for me, I'll kill for you. Wendy goes through with it without even telling Amanda. Like the next day, she gets the job done quickly, and she's like, you need to finish this. You need to kill for me now. I killed for you, you killed for me, or you killed for me, like immediately. And Amanda goes with it, gets the job done. And then all of a sudden we find out Wendy is not who she says she is, and it's an insane story. I ate this up so fast. I feel like I finished this audiobook in like 1 day. It was so good and such a gripping thriller, which I haven't read in such a long time. So I loved this book so much that I requested Steve Kavanaugh's newest book. It's called like 50/50 Off of NetGalley, and I can't wait to get into that one. So 5 stars for that one. The next book I read was also an arc off of NetGalley. It was called Spring Fling. This was an ALC that I requested randomly, and I'm so happy that I did. I ended up giving this 3 stars. It was like a 3.75. Very close to 4, but this is following Miley, who's like a small town southern girl, and she owns a bait and tackle shop. Sorry, I'm looking down at my phone because I have my reviews and everything. She owns a bait and tackle shop in this small town, and she lives with her grandma and her little sister Cassie. And then we follow Ben, who is moving back to this small town because his grandpa died and he needs to sell his grandpa's house, which happens to be right next to Miley's, and they were basically like childhood lovers, if you will. So we're following Miley and Ben like get reacquainted with each other, which is always such a good storyline to follow, and we find out like what happened between them. We follow them as they kind of like get to know each other as they're older, and I just loved this story so much. I felt like it was such a cozy, fun read. It was very springy. I just felt like the vibes were really good. The romance is super sweet and little tiny bit of spice, not much at all, but it was super good. I gave it 3.75 because I just found it to be fun, cute, and cozy. Like it was enough for me to remember it but not be like super like dying for this book, you know what I mean? So really good story. The next book that I read was purely vibes. I gave it 2 stars, but in the best way possible. Okay, this is Pucked. I checked this out from my library by Helena Hunting. I think all of these books are getting republished. They initially came out in like, I want to say like 2011, like a super long time ago, and you can just tell. So this story is following, what's her name? It's following Violet, and she is a sister of one of the hockey players on this team in this book. And one day she's at a game and she encounters a dude named Alex Waters who plays on her brother's hockey team. And basically this is like the story of them kind of like hooking up behind the brother's back because, you know, the brother's like, my sister's off limits. And this is kind of the story between them and like them falling in love and hooking up. It was so spicy. I'm giving it 2 stars purely because the spice was really good. The rest of the story didn't like hit like it should have. I just felt like I didn't get the romance. Like I felt like, I don't know how to explain it. This book just didn't grip me like a romance should. I just felt like it was pure spice, which is fine, you know, but I just wanted something different from it. But this was super sexy. It was a fun time if you're looking for that. I didn't vibe with like Violet. Sorry. Anyways, 2 stars, but in the best way possible, you know? Respectfully 2 stars. Okay, the next one was The Business Trip, which I gave 3 stars. Okay, I read this book while my husband was on a business trip because I just wanted to do a little immersive reading, if you will. But basically, this story is following Jessie, and this was a super unhinged story, but Jessie is running away from an abusive relationship, and when she gets on a plane, she encounters this girl named Stephanie who is on a business trip, and she decides to steal Stephanie's life. And so we're following that plot line, and we're also following what's his name, is it like Chad or something like that? Trent McCarthy, who is also on this business trip, who is like a butthole, super horrible dude. And we're following that perspective as he gets framed for the murder of Stephanie. And so I won't go too much into like plot because I don't want to ruin it for you guys, but this was a really good thriller. I really enjoyed it. I don't really remember why I gave it 3 stars. Something about it just didn't hook me, I guess, like I wanted it to. I felt like, I know what it was. It was like the way it ended just was super, that would never actually like happen. It just felt kind of like an easy way to sum up the story, if you will. Like, it was just so unhinged the way that it ended, and for that reason I gave it 3 stars. But it was still a really, really good thriller that I would highly, highly recommend if you're looking for like a fun thriller. But yeah, 3 stars. Next book was another arc on NetGalley. I'm sorry the lighting is going in and out. I have the big light on and my exposure and I don't want to get up. Anyways, so this is another arc on NetGalley, which I gave 4 stars because I really enjoyed it. This is called The Safari by Jacqueline Goldis. Sorry, I don't know how to say that. But basically we're following the Bach family, if you will. They own this retreat in Africa, and we're following Odelia. I don't know how to say her name. But basically, she's the CEO of like this sustainable fashion brand. She brings her family on the ship because she's getting married to somebody named Asher Bach. I said Bach family, I meant Babel family. We're following the Babel family. But she's getting married to this guy named Asher Bach, and he's like a young guy. This Odelia is like in her 60s, and she's like remarrying because her husband mysteriously passed away, and she invites all of her like adult children to come to Africa to celebrate their marriage. And when they get there, crazy things just start happening. I don't want to give it away because it's like super big plot twist in the story, but crazy things start happening, and we start kind of following this like murder mystery where you're trying to figure out which one of you did it. And I gave it 4 stars because it was a little obvious to me who did it, but it was still such a good story. I loved the African setting. I've never read a book where it was set in Africa, and I thought that was so unique and fun. I also loved the who done it, like murder mystery of it all. I felt like it was like, what is that, like Death on the Nile type vibe, like where you're all stuck in like this one place and you're like, ooh, who did it, you know? I felt like that was the vibe it was giving, and I really, really enjoyed it. I can't wait for this book to publish and to see what others have to say about it because I thought it was a fun time. So yeah, I gave that one 4 stars. The next book I read, gave this one 4 stars as well. This is a Strawberry Patch Pancake House. I did a little immersive reading with this one as well. I made strawberry pancakes the day that I read this. But basically we are following Archer, who is a chef, and he's a chef in Paris, which already hooked me. For one, I'm such a chef girl. Like, if the story has a chef in it, I'm like, yes, chef. Anyways, we're following Archer, who is a chef in Paris, and one day he gets news that he has a daughter, and he's like, what? And they're like, yeah, you have a daughter. The mom got in a tragic accident and you need to come take care of her. And he is like, I don't want to be a bad dad. I need to go take care of her. So he moves to Dream Harbor, this small town, obviously, and he meets the little girl. The little girl is like, ooh, they're not getting along at first, and so they decide to hire a nanny so that he can like go to work and have somebody he can trust watch her. And he ends up working at this like small town diner, like crazy hours. So he hires Iris, who is a yoga instructor in the town, and her and the little girl have such the sweetest and cutest relationship. I loved it so much. But also the relationship between Iris and Archer was really good, because they're like not wanting to like get involved with each other for the sake of the little girl, because she's already lost so much in her life. And this was so surprisingly good. All of the other ones I've rated like 2 to 3 stars. I did not love that much. This one was so good. I feel like Lori Gilmore's writing must be getting better, or there was just crack put into this book. I don't know. I loved it so much, and this is my favorite from the series so far. And also I did get spring vibes dribbled into it, so it was super fun. I loved it so much. Okay, the next book I read was Off of Libby. This was What I Ate in a Year by Stanley Tucci. I am just a huge culinary fan. I love anything to do with cooking. I love cooking shows and cooking books, and so I picked this one up because Stanley Tucci is notoriously like a foodie guy. So this was okay. I gave it 3 stars. I loved him talking about like the food that he made. My camera's dying, of course. So I might have to pop back on here later, but I loved him talking about the food that he made and following that storyline. But also it was kind of just like a random like diary. I felt like he was just sort of doing like random thoughts, and when I clicked on the cover and I zoomed close in, it said "and other related thoughts" in super small font, and I was like, yeah, I just thought we were talking about food. So I liked it, but I didn't love it. So there's that. And then the last book I read for the month was also an Archon NetGalley, is Holly and Nick Hate Christmas. This book is following Holly, who currently lost her job and came back home for Christmas, and when she gets there, it realizes that her brother brought a friend with him who happens to be Nick, who also hates Christmas. So Nick meets Holly and he's like, oh, we're gonna get along just fine. We both hate Christmas and we can bond on that while we're enduring this Christmas. Well, Nick has kind of like an ulterior motive for being there. The parents are wanting to sell the house and they want to sell it to Nick. And so Nick is there to buy the house and like look at the house. But Holly thinks that Nick is there to be her date, because the brother kind of like insinuated that. And so once she finds out that that is not the reason why Nick is there, she decides to go on like a revenge arc during the Christmas holiday season, where she annoys the heck out of Nick with holiday cheer. And it was just a super fun time. This book is marketed to be Christian, but there was just like little tidbits thrown in, but not much. Hi you guys, I had to pick up my phone because my camera died, and this is literally the last book of the month. But anyways, I was saying how this was marketed as a Christian book, but I didn't really get, there wasn't much like God talk. Like they would mention God like periodically, but it just wasn't as Christian as I wanted it to be. I like finding new Christian fiction books to read because I love an inspiring God story while also being, you know, like a fun fiction story. So I was really looking forward to this, and I think that's why I gave it 4 stars, because I just didn't feel that like Christian touch to it. But if you're looking for a fun Christmas romance book, this one is definitely it. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, those are all the books that I read for the month of April. Lots of arcs, but I need to get that score up on NetGalley, girl. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you read this month, and I will see you guys very soon somewhere on the internet. Bye.